So welcome back, guys. Courtney, you were saying,
yeah,
I guess that text just came through.
Yeah,
we got text.
Yeah, that the CXC exams are now going to be compulsory, and if you don't show up, you're going to fail. So I think the situation is a little different than it used to be, where you're just dependent on your parent paying, and then the issue of whether you show up or not. Now the exam is compulsory as part of your education requirement. So if you don't show up, you're going to fail. So I think the students are going to have to get a different attitude, and I think us parents are also going to have to encourage them some more, because we wouldn't want to have a lot of failure. So we're going to have to.
You think maybe the reason why the minister wanted to help is maybe because he realized some of the parents couldn't afford it.
Maybe that's some of the issue too.
To help out.
That's some of the issue. Yeah,
that could be a main.
But as the caller was saying before, the lady that called before. There are a lot of work that has to be done from, say, in Fort Farm, in order to complete your requirements in Fort Farm. So we have to monitor the students a little better. Good evening. You speak your mind. Go right ahead, please.
Yeah, Courtney. Another problem behind BVI. When I bid for the island, I put in for a trade license. They got to carry it, bring it back to France, carry all over the world to get my trade license. What's the overturn? Well, you're too young to understand, because you just come. But when we go to school, and I went at a contract hall, all the businesses and we were owned by local.
Okay.
Starting J.R. O'Neill in town. You had Salmon Grocery, Maurice Titley, across from then had Rena Titley and Johnny. You had Howard. You had all of them come from the corner.
You call about 2 or 3 of my family already, but keep going.
And then you come up Main Street, you had up for there, you had Miss Douglas, the Smith's Bakery, Mary Malone in front of the jail. You had Hardy, you had the Georges, you had Oran Hodge, Martin the Butcher, Emma Jean Quickie, Sanita Parson, Bababs, Gladys Watley, Sergeant. You had a grocery store in front, and I saw that factory at the back. Lou Harrigan, and the last business up in the whole town, right in front of the cemetery, was Silver Bazi. Okay? Now, the whole of the town dominated by Syria. They dominated the clothing store. Now, I understand now, they got about 6 supermarkets. They got one Big Ben, they got one Hannah's, they got one up in Maximus Marina, they got Elite Super right up East End, and I understand where Bobby was, they're going. Now, tell me, nobody tell them nothing, Everybody give them trade license to operate. But when I told them go, he got big farm in his own country, Them come from Syria. We can't go to US. Okay? This country has some serious problem. Okay.
Courtney, you ain't too young, you're old. But the brother he know what he's talking about.
He called out a lot of businesses on the Main Street. Yeah.
He's our own boy.
Yeah, but he's speaking more to a more serious issue, and that's trade license. And Sam, I may be right in his corner, because I believe that the present system that we have with trade license need to be abolished. I really feel so. I think you should have a book with all the possible trades in that book, and you go to the trade department, and if you qualify, they give you walk out the door with your trade license. But I don't. And when if you have 25 for that trade, when you reach to number 25, that's it. They finish. We can't continue to just give everybody that want a trade license a trade license.
Well,
it's impossible.
Well, Courtney, like I say, I was reading about the Bahamas the other day, Bahamas have a certain type of businesses, no matter what, belongs to BVI, belongs to folks from the Bahamas. They ain't giving it to nobody else. So don't even go and apply for it. Courtney, the problem I see here in the country is that, you know, I heard somebody said that one of the ministers had said at one point, just because you're BVI lander doesn't mean you should get a trade license.
Yeah.
And the person said, well, if BVI landers can't get trade license with businesses here in the BVI to build entrepreneurship, who else gonna get them?
Yeah.
So I just think besides trade license, the system has just failed the people from the BVI over the years, and I hope that these guys can make a turn, because you need trade license, you need financing, you need good guidance, you need help with business development, you need help with business plan, you know, and all people them need that kind of help. Courtney, how we keep bragging about this being such a rich country, but it seems like it's only rich for some.
Yeah, it's only rich for some, yeah.
I mean, something got to be done, Courtney.
But
something seriously got to be done.
But the point I was making about a trade license is is that there must be some place or some policy where we decide that we want 25 barbers, 300. You see what I'm saying? It must be some, or else what's going to happen? The same thing like with the labor market. We're going to flood the market with a particular trade. And when you flood the market with a particular trade, regardless of who the person is, they're going to lose.
Yeah.
They're going to lose. Yeah. Good evening, you're Rich Speaking Man. Go ahead, please.
Hello.
Hello.
Sam.
Hey.
You're the only fellow I have talk about the cruise ship, dark and night investment. You're the only person I hear go into details and tell the people what's wrong with that. Not one of the politicians who come out on the radio and TikTok like you and give the people the information. And I'm going to make something clear. Iowa Smith always said, if you're building the business for Virgin Island and you ain't building for Tartoria, don't build it. And if that cruise ship dock ain't benefit us, don't build it. Don't care who come, don't build it. If you go build something for the cruise ship industry to drain a little sense what Tartoria have, don't build it. If we can't benefit, don't build it. Simple. Like your truth.
Before you go, all I can say is this, bro. If you keep highlighting the things that need to be highlighted when it relates to business and development and all people being a part of it, and if you're going to keep doing things and you're not going to involve your people from the onset, Courtney, it's a waste of time, because we're going to keep complaining about trust companies now. You know, I was listening to a program the other night, and the guys then were on point.
Okay.
And I wanted to call in so bad and put my 2 cents in the conversation, but I couldn't get through. And you know, my whole focus is this thing called globalization. You know, we don't fully understand it, Courtney. A lot of us don't understand it, but people think globalization means they all have to move here in order to take over your business.
Not at all.
But they don't have to, because if you take, if what I'm saying is true about the trust company, one buying another one, sending workers from Bangladesh or Indonesia or wherever where they're making 50 cents an hour to come here to learn a trade. All people have to train them, and then they go back and set up a makeshift shop to run multi-million-dollar business for that company what just registered in the BVI.
Yes.
That's globalization. And I have a fellow that walk the street, very smart fellow, and I can call his name Mr. Dixon here, and I had good conversation. He wrote an article the other day, talk about why globalization is good for the BVI and why we should be embracing it. You gotta be careful. Okay. You've got to be careful. A small country like this, we need protectionism in this country, Courtney. And if our politicians them don't understand it, then the people them got to rise up. You know, and we don't, a lot of us, he talking about the whole cruise ship thing. I don't want to get into the cruise ship thing anymore. I've already said what I had to say about the cruise ship thing. You know, people should take time, question the ministers them, let them put the whole information, and it ain't just cruise ship, it's the airport as well. It's any sort of development coming to the country. We questioning the whole concept of more trust companies coming into the country. We know we need the trust company, we need our offshore services here in the country, but we need our people them training it. We need our people. Every time, you know, other people are being trained in that department, somebody from the BVI should be also shadowing those people and learning the trade as well. So when those people leave, all people them take over. So, but I can say you and I gonna keep doing what we do, because he just said something there about, you know, the businesses that was here, and you can't do that now. You can't walk around and call those businesses out anymore.
No,
they're not there. They're not existing anymore. So we're in trouble, Courtney. Yeah. We're in trouble, and the people I'm noticing, a lot of people complaining about.
Well, Sam, you know, one of the things that I've been saying, and I continue to say, is we have some policies in place here for the last 20, 30 years, and we're still operating under those policies. We have to change those policies. You can't. I'll give you a good example. We have a two-tier policy here for employers with employees. Well, listen to me good. Even government, we bring people from outside and we pay their house rent. We put them in a house with a swimming pool. We give them a car to drive, right? And we give them a 20% gratuity after they finish 2 years, which is like a saving account that you can, and it's tax-free, right? We do this, we've been doing this for the last 20, 30 years. We have to change our policies if we're going to say that we're going to treat our people, or people who go away and spend $100,000, $200,000 to get educated. If we're going to treat them the same way we're treating these people that we're inviting to our country, we have to change our policy. You can't go along with that same old policy. It can't work.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
And we continue to press for education. We continue to say we're going to educate our people, which is good. I would never discourage anybody from educating their family. Okay? But at the same time, we as a country, we as a government, we have to put measures in place to equalize things. We can't continue how we're going. I don't think so. I think it's unfair.
Yeah. Well, I gonna keep supporting the Minister of Education as long as he keep doing what he's doing. Coordinating is needed. Culture needs to be taught. We need to cultivate minds. I heard one talk show host on another show said that we need to put some kind of measures and some kind of policies or some kind of way to, you know, assimilate yourself into the economy, into the environment, into the community. You know, I listened to some of that, and I think some of it makes sense. Yeah. You know, we allowing people to just come in, and the numbers of people that are coming in. For example, if you continue to allow more Filipinos to come in, obviously the Filipinos are going to start dominating your culture and your behavior. You don't want that.
Hold that thought. Let's go to the phone. Yeah. Good evening. You've re-speak your mind. Go ahead, please.
Hello. Good evening, Mr. De Castro.
Good evening, sir.
Talking about supporting our locals here. You're an architect.
Yes.
You know, there's no architects association.
We have an association that's not functional, but we do have an association.
Yes. However, at the planning authority, a local architect must submit the drawings, whether the drawing comes from Hong Kong or wherever. But it's not the same for engineers. Any engineer in the world can submit at building authority.
But caller, let me just cut you a little bit here, just to say something. I had a similar kind of discussion like this with an accountant last week, and I said to him, it's about time we get professional licensing in the Virgin Islands, because I know that's where you're going, and we've been begging for this for the longest while, and it just goes on deaf ears.
No, but then, Mr. De Castro, we don't have professional licenses for the architects. However, the planning authority was smart enough to say only a person with a local trade license can submit drawings here. Why can't the building authority do the same? You know, until we go ahead and get the licensing thing sorted out.
That could be done, but it's a round the house way of doing it. You are familiar with what I'm saying. If we had these licensing requirements in place, it would stop people from calling themselves, first of all, an architect or an engineer without being so qualified in the first place.
Yes, that is true. But then that's not the point to which I'm speaking. The point to which I'm speaking is that for most businesses, you need a trade license to operate here in the Virgin Islands.
I'm aware of that.
Not so in engineering. That's why we have all our engineers living abroad are working different jobs.
And working here.
Yeah, working here, but working different jobs.
And living in another country. I'm aware of that.
Right. So, I mean, so then all we need to do is do what I suggested, and that's a start in the right direction.
Well, you're speaking of a change in policy again. I agree with you. We could start there, but I think the overall objective might be to start looking at professional people and start looking at. Well, I'm not saying all that I should be saying. I should also look at the liability side of it. There's a very high liability to government allowing people to operate in the territory without proper licenses.
Exactly.
It is a very high liability.
Exactly, because the matter is insurance. If you're not insured in the territory where you're practicing, you can't be held liable. It's sort of like doing a crime in St. Thomas and wanting to charge somebody in Tortola Fruit. It don't work, you know. But that's all I had to say on the matter.
But I will follow up with this with you. You come in and we'll follow up on it, okay?
Okay, thanks a lot, Mr. Picasso.
All right.
Okay.
But Sam, that's a very serious problem.
So an engineer living in New York
could work here
without a trade license.
Without a trade license.
Submit engineering.
Could submit engineering
without proper license.
Without any. Yeah, that's right. But you see, if you look at accounting, it has a problem in accounting. If you look at the attorneys, they have a problem with it, and it speaks to a bill that would take professional practice into consideration and write all the various paths to it that are necessary. And I think we have come of age for that already. We have a couple of texts. Let's see if we could get to those and see what they say.
Well, while you read those, go ahead. You go ahead. Go ahead. I had one here that say the minister's MIA. Somebody said the minister for labor is missing in action.
Oh yeah.
Especially from the farmers' point of view. So. Minister need to get on it, need to talk to the farmers. The farmers are crying out. They're crying out for water. They want to grow food. They want to start doing what they need to do.
Okay, so why is it that the Elmer Stout High School child has to stand outside for not having the ID? Stupidness, man. A child should not be put out of school from his or her education. Well, we spoke so much about it. I didn't even know that's still going on. Anyways, and those Arabs belongers, I'm pretty sure they are. Courtney, you are quite right. Policy must change. But for the past 30 years, you had the same dictators running the country. So do you really expect anything to change? Give me a break. I want you to say something about the $175 we have to pay at passport office, that most expensive visa, and you can go nowhere with it. Okay, that's the government's policy. They've increased a lot of fees. For those of you who do not know, they've also increased passport fees, and I understand that some other fees may be increased as well. Sam, any person running a country, you have to balance your budget. And in balancing your budget, you have to raise revenue. Now, the way the raising of revenue is done is up to one government versus another. You may have a government that may decide to tax cat. You know, right now we don't pay cat tax. You know that, right?
Cat?
Yeah, CAT, cat. Yeah, we don't pay. If you have a cat, you don't have to pay any tax. But if you have a dog, you have to pay tax, right? I'm just making the point. Good evening. You've reached Speak Your Mind. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, Mr. Di Castro.
Good evening.
You were just reading a text about a child being kept outside the gate because of not having an ID.
Yes, sir.
Now, what I have a concern with is that the individual that's checking the ID is not a government employee. It's an employee of a private firm that's contracted
That's correct.
to provide security to the building.
That's correct.
Not to check IDs. And I really think they need to address that.
Yes. Well, one of the things we had suggested when this came up a long time ago was to take the students inside and deal with them inside. To me, that was a solution that could work for everybody. You have some students who are not in compliance with your rules and regulations. Don't leave them out on the street. Some people just want an excuse to be on the street.
Yes, and the security guard, so to speak, doesn't realize that giving the child an opportunity not to be disciplined inside the schoolyard, but to go about their business during school hours.
Some of them even come with an extra shirt.
So I really think the administration of a high school should look into that and not pass the buck to the security company.
I think
That's
so.
their responsibility.
Very good point. Very good point, sir.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Yes, Sam, you know, if you have a responsibility, you know, the Education Act, right, gives the school a responsibility to train. Once you're between a certain age, it's compulsory you have to go to school, right? Now, if you don't allow the person in the gate, is that person going to school? That's the first issue.
You gone somewhere else.
You gone somewhere else. The second issue is, if you have a disciplinary issue with a student, how could you discipline the person outside the school?
When they're not even there.
When they're not even there. So I really think they should look at that for real. Good evening. You have reached Speak Your Mind. Go ahead, please.
Hello, good night.
Good night.
I am calling because I am a parent and I am sick and tired of people calling with these same problems about high school every single minute. Let me tell y'all something. If I get called down to that school because my child was locked out for ID, she need to fear me more than she need to fear the administration. You understand what I'm saying? I give you everything that you need to have to be where you're supposed to be. I don't want nobody calling me on my job for the stupidness. If you're supposed to have an ID on your shirt, put the ID on your shirt, match your little pad in the school. You shouldn't be getting locked out for no ID. Sometimes we have to pay money to get our ID replaced. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Parents, we need to step it up. They ain't working with us. We just need to fall in line. That's all. Fall in line. Them said be here at 8:30 with your ID. Make sure your child have the ID. The last thing you ask them before you see them for the morning, do you have your ID? Get your ID, put it on your clothes, go to the gate, go in. I'm sick and tired of hearing it now. We need to do what we need to do. Stop passing these little stupidities on it. It ain't nobody's problem but ours, because it's our children who outside the gate.
I hear you, but there's also the real concern that some people just don't make it to that level. I mean, there's the reality of the situation is we still have students here who they dress themselves and they make their way to school on their own because their parents not there. Their parents already gone to work. You know, so we have to be realistic with some of these situations. Not everybody come from a two-parent family home. Some people are actually schooling themselves.
Yeah. Well, I'm a little bit on the parent side, but I'm also on the first caller side.
Yeah, we have to be a little realistic, though.
So
yeah.
It's a balancing act.
Good evening. You have reached Speak Your Mind. Go ahead, please. Yeah, sorry, it's a live show.
Yeah,
and you could call us back because we're here live and we take the hard questions. Sam and I here, we take the hard questions. Seem like the person is ready to
go. Take a little break and come back.
We're going to take a break, and Sam, I reluctant to say a number 10, but I really should. It said that the major sponsor of the show, Digicel, and all the calls and all the texts that are sent to this show are absolutely free once you call from a Digicel phone or you text from a Digicel phone. So on that note, right now we're going to take a break for the sponsor to make the show possible, and we're going to be right back.